Hello, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Celedonio Sainz, and I welcome you to this webcast about how to improve your productivity and support your workflow with QApps. The speakers for today are first Danielle Ridis-Lang, studied biological sciences at Griffith University. She has over 20 years experience in the scientific instrumentation industry. She joined Sartorius Australia in 2016 as the application specialist for lab weighing. Also, Holger Denso, he studied biology at the University of Bielefeld, Germany, and finished his doctorate in 2005. Then he was working as sales representative for 2.5 years for a German biotech company, and in 2008 switched to another company for about lab instruments as product manager, and since 2016 he's working as a product manager at Sartorius. And my name is Celedonio Sainz again. I studied mechatronics engineering, and I have 12 years of experience in Sartorius as weighing and mass metrology specialist. Now I am the regional business manager for APAC based in Singapore. Before we begin, we will send you the recording. Please submit your questions anytime. We'll do a Q&A session at the end. And also at the end, please fill the survey at the end, of course, or please send us an email to this email address. The questions are welcome in any language. In real time, we're going to answer questions in English, and we will come back to you if the questions are in Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Thai, Indonesian, Vietnamese languages. So let's begin. I welcome Danielle.
Great, thank you.
Yours.
Sorry, thanks, Celedonio. Okay, so in this presentation, I will be covering the QApp concept for the Cubis 2 lab balance, then the licensing, the packages, and the QApps that are available. And then Holger will then discuss some specific weighing QApps and function extensions for the pharmaceutical industry. Next slide, please. So first we have one slide about the Cubis 2 lab balance range. Cubis 2 is a configurable lab balance covering a wide range of different maximum capacities from microbalances with a maximum weight of 2.1 grams up to high capacity balances with a maximum weight of 70.1 kilograms. The Cubis 2 is available with two different displays. The first one is the MCE display, offering 10 pre-installed weighing applications, but this interface is not relevant to the presentation today. The second display is the MCA display, and here we are talking about the pre-installed QApps. Next slide, please. So QApps are small software applications that are pre-installed on Cubis 2 MCA balances. QApps can be weighing applications with a guided workflow, or they can be function extensions. Function extensions can, for example, add additional menu functions to the settings menu. In general, the QApps are grouped into packages that are pre-installed on our MCA balances, and they are arranged in an onboard QApp center. The screenshot below shows the QApp center, and on the balance, you will find different packages like the essentials, you can see on the left, Pharma, and Advanced, and so on. Next slide, please. When you select a package on the balance, the individual QApps in the package and the licensing status are displayed as shown here in the screenshot on the left-hand side. For example, in this screenshot, I open the Pharma package, and in the Pharma package, you will find different applications like user management, electronic signature, audit trail, MIN USP for the minimum sample weight, USP Advanced for the measurement of the minimum sample weight, and measurement uncertainty. In this example, all these QApps are licensed, as you can see with the green tick. When you click on a specific QApp, you will get a descriptive text displayed and some screenshots. If you click on the button with the landscape, as shown here in the screenshot on the right-hand side, the landscape button is to the left of the license button in yellow. By pressing on the landscape button, you will get for each single QApp between 3 and 7 screenshots displayed. Also available, you will see information including licensing status, the version number, and the firmware dependency. Next slide, please. So in general, each QApp can be tested for a 30-day trial period. So if I would like to test a QApp, I will press, as shown here in the screenshot below, on the button Start Trial Version. You can see it's surrounded with a yellow box. And then I can activate the QApp for 30 days. The second option is, of course, the permanent license, and here the license is unlimited. It's worthwhile to mention that the trial period can only be activated once. Next slide, please. So coming to the packages in the licensing mode, there are different packages. The first one is license free. This is the Essentials package. The Essentials package contains 13 different QApps, and these QApps can be installed by everyone, and different tasks can be created from these QApps. Then we have 4 different packages available. We have Pharma, Advanced, Utilities, and Connectivity. In these packages, you will find different numbers of individual QApps. For example, in the Pharma package, there are 7 QApps. In Advanced, you have 21 QApps. Utilities package has 8, and Connectivity package has 4 QApps. These packages have an order code, QP1 to QP4. The packages can be licensed at the factory. QBIS 2 is a configurable balance, and you can order the QApp packages in combination with the balance. Additionally to these single packages, for new lab balances, we also offer QP99, the so-called all-inclusive package. This means that you will receive the balance pre-licensed with all packages QP1 through to QP4. You also have the specials category at the bottom of the table. This is not really a package. These are individual QApps, and these require an individual license. We're talking about 7 different QApps, and they are made for very different purposes. So for us, it makes no sense to sell these special QApps, like for example, tablet check or average weight control, etc. We'll discuss the content later, but it doesn't make sense to sell these QApps as a package. There is no package price available for the specials. As I've mentioned, the licenses are unlimited, and Sartorius provides regular updates for QApps. Next slide, please. So what does a typical weighing QApp look like? Whenever we are talking about a weighing application, we have got an instructive text showing above the weight values, so the user is guided by some text elements. We have also got an icon, so the user has both a visual guidance and a text guidance. In the split screen view, we are shown on the right-hand side of the screen, there is a results list because the QApp can automatically calculate the results. For some selected QApps, we have some graphical functions, like a bar chart, for example, and database options. For certain QApps, there is limited access to, for example, the product settings. So not everyone can edit, create, or delete products. It's limited to users with specific role rights. Additionally, we have some technical controls for compliance with certain guidelines or norms or pharmacopoeia. Whenever something is not within tolerances, for example, they will get a warning message displayed. Also here, the user is guided by the software. In general, to all QApp tasks, 2 printing and export profiles can be linked. So you can export results to an FTP server or to a Windows file server, and in parallel, print the results to a PDF file on a network printer or a lab printer. This gives you high flexibility for how to save and retrieve the results. It is worth mentioning the Balance offers different weighing profiles. Some weighing profiles are made for stable environments when the Balance is operating under optimal conditions. Other weighing profiles are for unstable environments, for example, in fume hoods or biosafety cabinets. Depending on the installation site of the Balance, you can choose the appropriate weighing profile. Next slide, please. Oh, now to discuss the single packages. First, we have the Essentials package. These are really easy to use, simple weighing applications. The QApps have limited configuration possibilities. They come pre-licensed, available on the Balance, and they cannot be ordered separately. So there is no order code for the package. Next slide, please. So in this package, you will find 13 different applications. For example, you will find mixing for the weighing of recipes, statistics for the statistical evaluation of weight values, totalization, which calculates the sum of weight values, solids density, here we are working with the buoyancy method, percentage weighing, this application calculates the percentage share of an unknown sample in comparison to a reference weight. Multiplication, here the weight value is multiplied by a user-defined factor. Averaging is made for the weighing of animals. Check weighing checks if a sample weight is within a specified tolerance range. Highest peak value captures the highest positive, stable, or unstable weight value. Counting counts the number of objects of approximately equal weight. Weighing with barcode is weighing with printing of a barcode or a QR code. Interval print collects weight values at specified intervals and exports them to CSV files. And last but not least, weighing with SBI output. SBI is a Sartorius specific interface, and here we output the current weight value in SBI format. Next slide, please. So in the second package, we are talking about the licensing dependent package, pharma. So the pharma package, which is QP1. The pharma package contains applications which are necessary for CFR 21 Part 11 compliance and other pharma relevant applications. These applications cover everything you need in regulated areas in the pharmaceutical industry. When you are talking about 21 CFR Part 11 compliance, this topic is covered by 3 different applications: user management, electronic signature, and audit trail. Then we have got 2 additional applications covering USP Chapter 41. The first one is MIN USP. This application monitors compliance of the permitted working range according to USP Chapter 41. It's the monitoring of the minimum sample weight. And USP Advanced determines the starting point of the permitted weighing range by performing a reproducibility and accuracy test. Then we have two additional QApps. One is for the measurement of uncertainty. This application displays dynamically the measurement of uncertainty of the weight value of the complete weighing range. And the last QApp, we have user calibration. Next slide, please. In the advanced package, QP2, you will find many different weighing applications. I won't go into the details of all of them because we have too many, but in general, the general topics are density measurement, percentage weighing, counting applications, backweigher, residue dirt analysis, residue on ignition, loss on drying, a QApp for the measurement of filter weights, so filter particulate matter, a check weighing application with counter, totalization, and some QApps for formulation and animal weighing. These are called averaging. Oh, we were on the right slide. Oh. Now we're into the third package. So that's on this one, which is QP3. Thank you, Holger. These are specific weighing applications or functions extensions. So I won't go into too much detail. We have applications like color scheme, statistics functions, air buoyancy correction, and so on. These are very diverse applications. Next slide, please. So the last package that we will talk about, or that I will talk about, that is available by factory licensing is QP4, the connectivity package. These applications are made for data exchange, integration of the balance into the IT environment. The first connector is for Windows File Server. So here files are transferred to SMB servers. We have a connector to FTP and FTPS, a connector to the Metrome Omnis system for the weighing of titration samples, and finally the connector to StarLIMS. Here the weighing orders or calibration procedures are shared with StarLIMS. Excuse me. Next slide, please. And last but not least, I come to the special applications. As mentioned before, special applications are not arranged in a package. They are available by single licensing only. Here we are talking about 8 different apps. The first one is standard preparation for the preparation of reference standards and buffers. Tablet checker, this is made for the uniformity of dosage, average weight control of tablets and capsules. The third one is average weight control. This is for testing finished goods. Then filtrability index, an application that targets the beverage market, identifying wines problematic during sterile filtration. Then we have an application for checking pipettes according to DIN EN ISO 8655. Then we have a fogging test for the automotive industry. Here, semi-volatile organic compounds are weighed according to DIN EN ISO 75201. And 2 applications which are targeting the pharma market. The first one is pharma filling, for filling pharma products into bags or flasks. And the MyCap CCX cell expansion application for the expansion of cell cultures on their way to the bioreactors. Next slide, please. Of course, we have lots of different QApps, but if the user has a very, very specific workflow that is not covered by our QApps, we also offer customized programming. These customized QApps are loaded onto the balance using the settings menu, item install customized QApp. So you can see that on the screenshot on the left-hand side. So the customized QApp can be loaded from a USB drive or server location onto the balance, and then can be installed as a task. Also worth mentioning at this point, if you would like to update your QApp Center with the standard QApps we offer, we've got an additional menu item in the settings menu where you click on Install QApp Center and it loads the new QApp Center onto the balance. Next slide, please. And it's over to you, Holger.
Oh, thank you very much. I would like to talk about specific weighing functions and function extensions for the pharmaceutical industry. We are in detail about our QApps made for 21 CFR Part 11 compliance, then the QApps made for USP Chapter 41 compliance, and QApps for the uniformity of dosage unit testing, so tablet and vial checker, less on drying, pharma filling, and MyKit CCX cell expansion. Let's start with the QApp function extension user management. So user management is of course not a weighing application, but it adds some additional menu functions to the settings menu. If the user management is activated, you can create users and define user roles. I didn't add a screenshot here, but I guess you can easily imagine you enter a username and assign the role to the user. So the permissions, whatever the user is allowed to do with the balance. Of course, user management also covers the topic passwords. And concerning the 21 CFR Part 11 compliance, in detail, we are talking about some password rules, as shown here in this screenshot on the left-hand side. So a password is always defined by a certain length. It can be defined here in the menu. A minimum length can be defined, the validity period, and how often the password must be changed. So if a user tries to reuse a password, it's always a question how many different passwords he must use after each other before the password can be used again. And concerning the login and logout, we have got some additional settings available, as shown here on this screenshot on the right-hand side. It's possible to define an automatic logout after inactivity of a user. The maximum number of retries defines how often the password can be entered wrong before there is a login delay activated. So this should avoid the misuse of passwords or that unauthorized users log into the balance. The second application is electronic signature, also covering the 21 CFR Part 11 compliance. It's also, of course, not a weighing QApp, but function extension. And if the electronic signature is activated, I can select in the main menu, as shown here in the screenshot on the left-hand side, if the users have got to sign the report or not. And if this function is activated, a logged-in user is forced to sign or enter his password whenever a report is created and exported by a weighing task. So here the user clicks on the keyboard, as shown here on the right-hand screen. There's a symbol for the keyboard, and with the keyboard, the user enters his password to sign electronically the report. The third application in the context of 21 CFR Part 11 is audit trail. If activated, the balance tracks many different events and saves them into a buffer, a ring buffer. In the audit trail, events, for example, like task start, task modification, user calibration, and so on, are monitored. And in the audit trail, a filter function is available. So users can filter for certain events, can sort for certain events, and can export the audit trail. The audit trail is exported as HTML file, inclusive an MD5 checksum, and the exported file depends on the set filters and the sorting. The audit trail can be exported, for example, to a local server like an FTP server or a Windows file server, and saved for reviewing purposes. When we come to the topic USP chapter 41, the first topic is the minimum sample weight. And here we are talking about QApp with the name MinUSP. This software function also adds some settings to the balance settings menu. As shown here in the left-hand screen, the MinUSP function can be activated or inactivated, and the starting point of the operating range can be either entered by the user, so the value in grams can be entered, or the second option would be to enter a value from a calibration certificate. And if the option mark weight values below MinUSP as invalid is activated, as shown here in the screenshot on the right-hand side, the balance prevents weight values below the MinUSP value, or below the minimum sample weight, to be acquired. Now here in this example, the takeover button is inactivated because the displayed weight of 0.0054 grams is below the allowed minimum sample weight as displayed on the left-hand side of the weighing bar. And as long as the measured weight is below the minimum sample weight, the MinUSP value displayed is shown or highlighted in red. If the measured weight is above the minimum sample weight, the display switches to black and the button is activated. The second QApp for USP chapter 41 is USP Advanced. USP Advanced is a weighing application to determine the starting point of the operating range. This application offers an accuracy test and a repeatability test. Here the user is guided by the software, and the software from the results calculates the starting point of the operating range. And if the calculated value meets the requirements, so is compliant, as shown here in the screen on the right-hand side, the user gets an info and has the option to set the minimum sample weight MinUSP active. By confirming here, by using the button yes, the MinUSP value calculated by the software is saved by the balance and activated. Another application interesting for the pharmaceutical industry is uniformity of dosage units. So a completely different topic. Here we are talking about the applications tablet checker and vial checker. In general, if you deal with pharmaceutical drugs, like for example tablets, powders, capsules, granules, solutions, or whatever, the weight of dosage units must be checked. This is in compliance with USP Chapter 905 of the European Pharmacopoeia in order to avoid over or underdosing of drugs. For this purpose, both applications apply two tolerances, tolerance 1 and tolerance 2, based on the nominal weight of three tolerances set by the user. So you always get a certain nominal sample weight, and there is a certain range between the upper and lower limit of tolerance 1 that is allowed. And you have got a second range between tolerance 1 and tolerance 2, so the upper and lower limit that is allowed for only 10% of the samples, and sample weights above or below tolerance 2 are strictly forbidden. The tablet checker in general offers a workflow for the test of solid samples, so for example tablets, powders, granules, or capsules. Here the samples are measured one by one after the other, and for capsules the mean average tear weight can be entered by the user or can be measured by a weighing sequence. Then the filled capsules, these examples, are measured one by one after the other, and the mean average capsule weight is then automatically subtracted by the weighing application in order to calculate the net filling weight. The second application, the vial checker, is in contrast made to test liquid samples. This application was programmed for a customer in Southern Europe, so it's currently available as customized QAP only by Sartorius. And this application offers two weighing sequences. The first one is tear gross, so first the empty vials are measured, then the filled vials, or gross tear. So here's vice versa, first the filled vials are measured and then the empty vials. And like for the capsule measurement mode in the tablet checker, the average vial tear weight or the individual tear weights measured for the vials is automatically subtracted to calculate the net filling weight. And in addition, the net filling weight is calculated with the density because here we have got to deal with liquid samples, and the density must be considered. Both QApps offer some technical controls. So there's a tolerance bar with the upper and lower limits for tolerance 1 and tolerance 2. And depending on the measured sample weight, the color of the tolerance bar changes. So whenever a sample weight is measured as okay, the tolerance bar is displayed in green. If the sample weight is lower or higher than tolerance 1, the tolerance bar is shown in a yellow color. And if the sample weight is below tolerance 2 or above tolerance 2, so if the weight is completely out of limits, then the tolerance bar is displayed in red. And additionally, the user in the split screen view gets a bar graph shown with a counter. So here the samples are tested as to be okay, or above or below tolerance 1 or tolerance 2 are summed up and displayed here in a bar graph. When a sampling is finished, the QApp calculates the statistical results and additionally displays a counter as a bar graph. So in the statistical report, you will find typical numbers, like for example, the number of tested components, the mean value, so the mean weight value, the standard deviation, the variation coefficient, the sum of all weight values, then the lowest and highest component value, and the difference between the minimum and maximum weight. In general, since we are talking about multiple samplings for a batch, these two applications also offer cumulative statistics, so users can create lot statistics, shift statistics, or statistics of multiple measurements to analyze the data. Another application I would like to talk about is loss in drying. This also has a strong focus here on the pharmaceutical industry and is a backweigher. In general, pharmaceutical products like tablets, capsules, or bulk material must be tested according to USP Chapter 7031 of the European Pharmacopoeia. And here the loss of weight is of interest due to heat treatment, so the drying of samples. For this method, in general, 1 or 2 grams of sample are homogenized, are placed in a glass vial, as shown here on the right-hand side of the slide. It's a typical Pyrex glass used for this application. And the glass is then placed in a drying oven. The loss on drying is a typical backweighing application. So first the initial sample weight is measured, and then the sample back weights after drying of the sample in the oven. According to the US Pharmacopoeia or the European Pharmacopoeia, the samples must be dried to constant weight or constant mass. What does it mean? So according to USP, 2 consecutive weighings must not differ by more than 0.5 milligram per gram of sample, whereas the European Pharmacopoeia defines that 2 consecutive weighings must not differ by more than 0.5 milligram in total. Also for the loss and drying procedure, of course, the user is guided here through a workflow and measures at first the initial sample weight and then up to 3 back weights. The software automatically calculates the results and evaluates if a sample is in compliance according to USP or to the European Pharmacopoeia. So whenever the sample weight is out of limits, then the user gets a notification that the test is failed, as shown here in the screenshot on the right-hand side. If the weight difference is too high, the user gets a message screen displayed. And another application is pharma filling. This application is used to fill liquid samples into bags, flasks, or vessels. For this transfer of the liquid, the Cubist MCA balance can control peristaltic pumps from Watson-Marlow. This example here is the pump models 530 DUN or 630 DUN. And these pumps are remotely controlled by the QApp. The application offers a pumping process made up of different steps. The first step is optional, so-called priming. So priming is used to get rid of air bubbles in the tube system. Then the second step is filling. Here the pump runs its high speed, so high RPM values, to transfer the liquid into the target vessel or bag. And at the end of the filling step, there is a slow down step. So here, by percentage of the target weight, a slowdown step is introduced, and this avoids the overfilling at the end of the procedure. Last but not least, the fourth step is reverse one. It's also optional. So to get rid of residual liquid in the tube system that could contribute to the measured rate value. Optionally, a reverse run can be performed. How does it work? We've got some technical controls here. The operator selects a product from the database and is then guided through the complete workflow. As shown here in these two screenshots, this deal with the filling step. So after the tube system is primed, the filling step is activated, and as I've mentioned, at first pumps with high speed, and at the end of the filling step, the pump automatically slows down at a set percentage of the target weight and stops when the target weight is reached. And by this mode, we are reaching a really high precision. So also it's a peristaltic pump, and peristaltic pumps are per se not really precise, but we can get down to precision values of 0.1%, for example. At the end of the procedure, the pharma filling QApp displays the results. So, for example, here the target weight is listed, then the number of filled vessels or bags, the lowest and highest value measured, the mean value, so the mean filling value, and the standard deviation, the start and end time of the filling process, and then the report the speeds are listed, for example, start speed, filling speed, speed for the reverse one, etc. And this report can also, of course, be printed. The last application I would like to talk about is also a strong focus on the pharmaceutical industry, and it's called MyCap CCX cell expansion. This application is used for processing MyCap CCX consumables for the propagation of cell lines on the way from the stock culture to large-size bioreactors. And the photo here on the slide shows the balance, the pump used to transfer the liquid between the reservoir and the target flask or vessel, and the MyCap consumables. So MyCap consumables are made of plastic, and these are sterilized. For example, Erlenmeyer flasks, and this can be combined with a specific tube system with sterile connectors, with filters, and so on. And this system, as shown here below, is used for the automatic transfer of media and or inoculum. So inoculum is media containing a certain number of cells, and this is used to inoculate new media to let cells grow under defined conditions. For these applications, we use a smaller pump model from Watson-Marlow. That's model 323DU. And the pumping process used for this application is very similar to the filling application. So we have got a priming step, a filling step, and a reverse run option. So as technical controls, the QApp offers to calculate automatically the inoculum and or media weight, which has to be added. The QApp also displays instructive text, how to handle the consumables. So one example is shown here on the left-hand side. There's a screenshot showing the instructive text if the mode add media is selected. So here's a clear guideline to the user by different steps here what has to be done. And as for the filling application, we have also here during the pumping process an automatic slowdown and the automatic stop of the peristaltic pump when the desired target weight is transferred. So also here we can avoid overshooting of the target weight. Of course, also this application creates a final report and calculates the final density, so cell density, and the final volume which has been transferred into the target vessel. To give you a short summary, so I was talking here about QPS to QApps. These can be acquired in packages, so licensing is possible by factory licensing if you purchase a rebalance, or after installation, packages or single applications can be licensed. You have got the packages Pharma, Advanced Utilities, and Connectivity available, and all applications which are part of these packages can be tested for 30 days for free if not licensed. The applications in general are either weighing applications or function extensions, and when we are talking about weighing applications, they always offer a guided workflow, plus in some cases compliance controls. So QApp Center is pre-installed on all QBIS 2 MCA balances. You always get 13 applications, essential applications for free. Factory licenses for QApp packages. These licenses are unlimited, and the QApp Center can be updated by using a USB stick or a server connection, and then the latest QApp versions can be loaded onto the balance. For the pharmaceutical industry, we have got some QApps dealing with 21 CFR Part 11 compliance and compliance to USP Chapter 41, and they are divided into weighing applications and function extensions. And if you have got a very, very specific workflow we cannot cover with our QApps available by standard, we can offer the customized programming of QApps to cover your specific requirements. Thank you very much. I guess now it's time for questions and answers.